Is there really a crisis in the health sector here in Sri Lanka? Or are these deaths that are being reported from hospitals after patients have been administered with certain types of drugs just isolated incidents? A 1 in a million maybe. Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. We've got the details of these stories and much more lined up for you here tonight. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team, and with me is my co-anchor Naviksha Gunasekara. Good evening, Naviksha.
Good evening, Charlotte. Before we start off with our bulletin, let's have a look at our headlines for tonight.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
President in India for two-day official visit. Rohan Fernando removed from the post of SLT chairman.
දැන් මේ රටේ ආණ්ඩුවේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ක්‍රියාකරමු දිහා බලපුවම අපිට ඉතින් අබසරණයි තමයි කියන්න වෙන්නේ.
Another suspicious death at the Kegol Hospital. Concerns mount over low-quality medicine. MPs sign no confidence motion against Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwala. Restrictions on over 300 imports including vehicle spare parts and furniture to be lifted. Central Bank of Sri Lanka bill passed. 133 MPs not in parliament during the vote. Who benefited from the wheat flour tax change?
මීට පෙර මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කතා වුණා සීනු බදු මංකොල්ලේ. ඊට වඩා වැඩි පිටි මංකොල්ලයක් මතර සිදු වී තිබෙනවා.
Pakistan defeats Sri Lanka to join India at the top of the World Test Championship standings.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Taking a look at those stories in detail, the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe reached India on Thursday evening to begin a two-day official visit.
He was welcomed by the Indian Ministry of State for External Affairs at the New Delhi airport.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe was hosted by India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, for a one-on-one meeting later on Thursday evening.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe is undertaking an official visit to India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The presidential delegation left for India at 1:43 p.m. on Thursday aboard a Sri Lankan Airlines flight. During his visit, President Wickremesinghe will meet President Draupadi Murmu and other Indian dignitaries on a range of issues of mutual interest.
The Indian External Affairs Ministry spokesperson commented on trading in national currencies.
In terms of trading in our national currencies, Sri Lanka has already, I think, notified Indian rupee as a designated foreign currency in their system. Utilization of that will, of course, depend on our private sector and people who engage in the trade sector. We would like to, of course, deepen this kind of financial and economic connect, but I think it would be premature for me to comment today on it when the visit's tomorrow.
Director General of Trade Unions to the President, Saman Ratnapriya, expressed these views about President Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to India.
During the visit, we will be strengthening our old friendship and thanking India for supporting us when we were financially down. We initially got $3 billion under the Indian credit line. We got several other aid packages as well. The President is also due to engage in several rounds of discussion and enter into several agreements to revive our country's economy. This will also be used as an opportunity to inform India regarding the issue in the north and the east. We also saw that the GSP Plus concession given to Sri Lanka has been extended for another 4 years. Some people went to Geneva and spoke about suppression and said that there is no democracy in the country. But the European Union has acknowledged that there are minor issues in the country. But however, we are moving forward. Also, we know that our foreign currency reserves has gone up to $3.5 billion.
Rohan Fernando, the chairman of Sri Lanka Telecom, announced that he was removed from his post by a coup carried out by the board of directors on Thursday.
He told reporters that the move to remove him could be linked to the possible total privatization of Sri Lanka Telecom.
Sri Lanka Telecom ආයතනයේ
The board of directors of Sri Lanka Telecom met at 9 a.m. A matter that was not included in the agenda took me by surprise. The Malaysian investors or the GTH investors wanted to change the chairman at institutional level. I was surprised by this move. When a similar advertisement was published several months ago, all of them met and signed a letter stating that it is not their task to change the chairman and that they would not be connected to such acts. They said as Sri Lanka is the majority shareholder, it is the task of the government. That is why I was surprised. Two directors representing the government also voted in favour, and one of them is the most recently appointed director, Riaz Mihular. The motion was passed. We have 10 directors, 6 of them represent the government-owned shares and 4 of them represent the Malaysian-linked GTH investors. So when there is a 6-4 division, it can be passed.
නියෝජනය කරනවා. ඉතින් 6යි 4 අනිත් පැත්තට ගිහලා 6-4 වෙච්චාම ඕන මේක පාස් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි අද උනේ. මේක අරමුණ ඔබතුමා දකින්න මොකක්ද මේ රජේ අවවාද කරන ඉස්සරෙන්නේ මට හිතාගන්න.
I cannot be certain. I assume there is a need to sell it. I may have been an obstacle in that process. I have never spoken about whether it should be sold or not. SLT is registered with the Colombo Stock Exchange. Anyone can sell their shares at the Colombo Stock Exchange.
ආයතනයක්. ඉතින් ඕන එක්කෙනෙකුට තමගේ කොටස් විකිණීමේ අයිතිය තියෙන කොටස් වෙනද පොලේ. දැන් ඔබතුමාගේ හේතුවක් සමාප්තවලේ ආයතනය දුරුගන්න අඩතුමනේ ඉවත් කිරීම ආණ්ඩුවේ දැක්සි ගැටුමක ආරම්භකයේ සාමයේ හිතෙන්නේ
When taking a look at the conduct of the government and the parliament, it is a cause for concern.
දෙයා බලපුවම අපිට ඉතින් අබසරණයි තමයි කියන්නේ. ඒක විශ්වාස කරන්නේ ලංකාවේ ආයුධ දෙවනක ලංකාවේ කම්පැනි එකකට ටිකට් කම්පැනි එකකට ඔබතුමා කියනවා. දැන් මට ආරංචිලා අපි
There is information on social media and the media. I believe it will be given to an overseas firm, as only such a company can undertake a massive investment like this.
තාවත් තියෙන මේ වගේ ලොකු ආයෝජනයක් කරන්න කියලා තමයි මම හිතන්නේ.
Litrogas stated that they are ready to contribute a sum of 1.5 billion rupees to the treasury. This announcement was made while the government also plans to divest Litrogas.
We decided to hand over 1.5 billion rupees to the treasury through our primary shareholder, Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation. The government can use this contribution for their expenses, or they can even use it for the recently introduced Asasuma Welfare Benefit Scheme. The government can even use it to pay state sector salaries. Irrespective of the fact for which purpose they use this for, what we want here is for the government to use these funds for the benefit of the public, because this company is owned by the general public and whatever profits we get by this company should be given to the public.
An Indian company is already being retained as a consultant agent on the divestment of Litrogas.
Moving on to a story that has been making headlines throughout the past few months, the medical sector in Sri Lanka and the issues surrounding the medical sector. Another death suspected to have been caused after an antibiotic was administered was reported from the Kegol hospital.
Director of the Kegol General Hospital, Dr. Mihiri Priyangani, said that the post-mortem examination revealed that the death could have been caused by an antibiotic administered while the patient was being treated.
56-year-old Ajit Pushpakumara was admitted to the Kegol General Hospital to seek treatment for 2 wounds on either side of his mouth. Ajit was being treated at the general ward for 7 days, after which on the 17th of July he was administered with the antibiotic ceftriaxone.
I went to see my father in the morning on the 17th. He was alright. He was not sick. A drug was administered to him at about 8. The people who were around him also had seen this. My father had fallen ill at about 9:15.
As soon as the drug was administered, He said that it felt very irritating. He had gone to the toilet and not even 10 minutes after he returned, he had fallen unconscious. They then admitted him to the ICU and he passed away a few hours later.
Director of the Kegol General Hospital, Dr. Mihiri Priyangani said this antibiotic had been administered to Ajit Pushpakumara 13 times before. She added that the Ministry of Health was notified of the incident and that the batch of antibiotics has been suspended from use.
My father had cirrhosis in his liver. However, his condition was not fatal. The doctor had informed us that even if 60% of the liver of a person goes bad, they can still live a normal life. My father was not suffering from such a serious condition. He was alright. We go to the hospital to save our lives. My father was not admitted to the hospital. He wasn't suffering from any fatal illnesses.
A young girl died recently at the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital after she was administered the antibiotic ceftriaxone. She too displayed a similar reaction after this specific drug was administered to her. On the 15th of this month, Director General of Health Asela Gunawardena confirmed that the same antibiotic that was given to the girl who died at the Peradeniya Hospital had caused complications in 2 patients at the Kandy General Hospital. Subsequently, 3 batches of this medicine was suspended from use.
The ceftriaxone drug is the reason for the death at the Kegol Hospital, the death of Chamodi in the Peradeniya Hospital and the 2 allergies that were reported from the Kandy Hospital. We received the ceftriaxone drug through the Indian credit line. We know that currently we are using 2 batches of the ceftriaxone drug, one imported from China and the other from India. We need to ascertain as to which batch of the ceftriaxone drug causes these allergies and deaths. This must be revealed to the public. If these incidents that are reported are at a ratio of billion to 1 or million to 1 or even 1,000 to 1, we can ignore it. But here several deaths and allergies been reported from several parts of the country after using the same drug is definitely something to be concerned of.
The Director General of Health Services convened a media briefing on Thursday afternoon and clarified matters regarding the death that was reported from Kegol.
He suffered the infection when the drug was administered for the 15th time, but this patient fully recovered from the infection. The patient died due to a condition that he had. There is a tendency to connect every death to an antibiotic or an injection. Do not do that. The medical drug is the same. It is the drug named ceftriaxone. We have suspended the use of those batches of this drug at the Peradeniya and Kandy hospitals. The medical drug named Propofol is just one drug. This drug is not registered. It was brought under the provisions to waive registration. There too, it was a side effect. The drug used at the eye hospital had a bacteria in it, and that is the reason why patients who went there suffered various complications. 3 of the 2 people lost their sight and the other partially lost their vision. We have taken all legal action that can be taken against that company. The incident surrounding the ceftriaxone drug at the Peradeniya Hospital was an anaphylaxis reaction. That person at the Kegol Hospital had a serious allergy. This patient had died due to liver failure, and he too has suffered such a reaction. Go online and check. All countries monitor these adverse reactions. They do it to prevent it from happening again. Some patients say that they feel irritated right after receiving an injection. A phobia has been created in the health sector. There is a possibility that one could have died of anaphylaxis reaction after even having something like a Panadol or paracetamol. These are things that happen very rarely.
Sri Lanka's opposition launched a process to obtain signatures from MPs for a motion of no confidence against Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwella. Opposition leaders Sajith Premadasa and MPs Rajitha Senaratne, Chantima Veerakodi and Kumara Welgama among others signed the document. An argument broke out in Parliament on Thursday over the health sector crisis, citing the shortage of drugs at a hospital in Kaluthara.
The directress of the Kaluthara Teaching Hospital, Dr. S.M.P. Karunaratne, has revealed a very serious situation. She says that the heavy marking drug, which is necessary for cesarean surgery, is in short supply at the Kaluthara Teaching Hospital. What is the reason for the short supply? Is it the lack of funds? Is it the inefficiency of the government?
The Finance Ministry has given top priority to release funds for medicines and medical requirements.
The Finance Minister says funds will be released, but those funds are used to purchase low-quality medicine. That is why people are dying.
The Health Minister gave a response, but what did it contain? According to the Health Minister, the total collapse in the health sector is a common occurrence. He says the process adopted in 2013 is being followed.
What would happen when we do not have the drugs required for the C-section surgery? The Treasury keeps saying that the necessary funds were released. The situation will reach a level where you won't be able to even visit your electorates.
This discussion is around the internal memo that was issued by the directors of the Kaluthara Teaching Hospital. She should have directed it to the Medical Supplies Division. There's no report of a short supply of the heavy marking drug. We have obtained a stock of 30,000 vials. This is a direct attack on the free healthcare system. I am not a person who was put out by the Supreme Court for importing substandard goods.
Medical faculty students engaged in a silent protest opposite the Ministry of Health, demanding that the free healthcare system be protected.
The government is enacting its own agenda to proceed with the privatization. Instead of penalizing those who imported low-quality medicines, they are using these deaths to distance the people from the state hospitals.
Health workers protested outside the Kandy General Hospital against the Health Minister and the government.
The government is attempting to turn away the hospital workers. There's no point in changing the pillow for a headache. The system must change.
Meanwhile, the All Ceylon Dengue Prevention Assistance Association staged a protest opposite the Ministry of Health today. They have been protesting over the course of several weeks, demanding for the permanent employment and a suitable salary. With the police arriving at the site of the protest with an order issued by the Maligakanda magistrate, a heated discussion ensued between the protesters and the police.
When we are innocently protesting for what we want, the current government has come here with an order from the court. 13 respondents have been named, including myself, Suranga, Manoj, and several of our members.
However, the protesters were given an opportunity to speak to an official of the Ministry of Health.
We came here not with an intention of leaving, but we have now got a written decision. We will have to come here again in a month if this decision is not implemented. We believe that this will come true instead of being another lie. We will wait and see.
Sri Lanka's State Minister for Finance responded to the allegation raised by the leader of the Jathika Janabala Vegaya regarding a wheat flour scam.
What is the wheat flour scam exposed by Anrukumar Dissanayake? On the 14th of June, the Sri Lankan government via Gazette banned unauthorized wheat flour imports. As a result of this move, wheat flour importers restricted their imports, and at the time of this decision, Prima and Serendip companies had accumulated a large stock of flour in their warehouses. These two companies have been allowed to import wheat kernels at a tax of 3 rupees per kilogram, and they produce flour from these imported wheat kernels. However, Anrukumar Dissanayake pointed out that other importers were paying a tax of 35 rupees to the government per kilogram of wheat flour. He said that according to the current price in the world market, people have to pay 210 rupees in the retail market, while a kilogram of wheat flour can be imported to Colombo for 110 rupees. The MP alleged that the two companies are making mammoth profits by importing wheat kernels and processing and selling flour by discouraging the other importers and paying less taxes to the government.
Who bribed Prima and Serendip? Sagara Ratnayaka should be questioned. What is the presidential administration doing to let him do that work? How has he got the power to decide on taxes in the Ministry of Finance? How does he make decisions and how does he exert influence? I know that for the presidential election, they are preparing a fund. They pumped money into every presidential election. Import wheat kernels and produce flour. Import wheat kernels and produce flour. Prem and Serendip are importing wheat kernels with a duty of 3 rupees per kilogram. Wheat flour prices were reduced by 10 rupees only after I asked the question yesterday. Until yesterday, the price was 210 rupees. Prima is making an additional profit of 45 rupees per kilogram of wheat flour. The same goes for Serendip as well. What has happened now? The consumers cannot purchase wheat flour at a lower price. The government had a tax of 30 rupees for direct wheat flour imports that is also no more. Who can justify this in the parliament? When a kilogram of wheat flour can be sold for 165 rupees, who paved the way for Prima and Serendip to make massive profits by selling a kilogram for 210 rupees after only paying a tax of 3 rupees per kilogram of wheat kernel. The sugar tax scam was discussed before in the parliament. This is another scam. Over 900,000 metric tons of rice was imported since last year. Is this not the very reason that discourages the rice producers? We imported rice for the tourism sector this year. The wheat flour that was sold for 400 rupees a year ago is now being sold for 210 rupees. Some are trying to use this as a means of earning more money. Wheat kernels are important for the food security in the country, and if an industry is taking place on that, it impacts the food security. $350 million was invested in the country and they generate over 1,000 jobs while providing a tax revenue of over 3 billion rupees annually. Are we going to let them fall and leave the country? You need to end any act that generates undue profits. However, you have awarded everything to Prima and Serendip. Do not try to conceal this fact under the guise of the economy. The government intervened and secured the 10 rupee price reduction. We are prepared to further analyze and add more influence on this. However, stocks need to be maintained for 6 months. That is how the price reduction was imposed. This needs to be investigated scientifically by the Committee on Public Finance. The Finance Ministry has a report. They would act accordingly.
The central bank bill, which is among the goals given according to the agreement made with the International Monetary Fund, was passed in Parliament on Thursday.
Now, it's clear that this bill is considered to be one of the most serious and bills that bring the most amount of change to the systems here in Sri Lanka that has brought to the Parliament in recent times. Now, however, 113 members of Parliament from the ruling faction and the opposition were not present in the House during the second reading of the bill. The bill was subsequently passed without a vote in the third reading.
The second reading of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka bill was passed by a majority of 42 votes in Parliament during the second reading. 66 votes were cast in favour while only 24 votes were cast against it. 113 MPs including Mahinda Rajapaksa, Namal Rajapaksa, Maithripala Sirisena, Sajith Premadasa, GL Piris, Venerable Atharaliya Ratanathero, M.A. Sumandiran, Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam, Champika Ranavaka and Jeevan Thondaman representing the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, Samagi Jana Balawegaya and the Tamil National Alliance were not present in the chamber for the vote. While the debate took place on Thursday morning, opposition MPs requested more time to study the bill, citing that there were a plethora of amendments. They called for a vote to take place later after proceeding with the debate. However, the Speaker was compelled to ring the bell and summon MPs due to the lack of quorum, twice during the debate.
සීනුව නාද කරන්න කියලා යෝජනා කරනවා.
Dr. Harsha De Silva made the following revelation during the parliamentary debate.
ඔය කට්ටිය දැන් නිකන් ඔළුව හැප්පිලා වගේ කෑකෝ ගැහුවට රට බංකොලොත් කරේ අපි වාගේ කතා කරාට එදා අපි කියපුවා ඇහුවේ නැහැ.
Although you keep speaking as if we bankrupted this country, none of you listened to what we said back then. On the 23rd of March 2020, Professor W.D. Lakshman got a letter from the President's office signed by P.B. Jayasundara stating the President said this and that. It says to take immediate steps to stabilize the exchange rate to around 185 rupees to the US dollar. Who said this? The Secretary says that the President said so. So it was the President who decided to peg the rupee at 185 to the US dollar. How can the President decide on the rupee management of the central bank? This was political intervention. Who is P.B. Jayasundara? P.B. Jayasundara is telling the central bank governor to do what he says. The President once reprimanded the central bank, asking if the tools were used and gave them a deadline as well. In this letter, the central bank is ordered to allow the private banks to access international sovereign bonds. It tells to relax the laws as well. The governor gives a letter to then Finance Secretary R.T. Agala to print more money. Here is the letter and I will table it. This letter also tells to immediately release $250 and to maintain a 4.5% interest rate. Who wrote this? Then Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa.
සමහර කට්ටියට පොලි අනුපාත වැඩි කරන්න. කවුද ලියන්නේ? බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මුදල් ඇමතිවරයා. කොහොමද මෙහෙම කරන්නේ?
We'll be back after a short commercial break. Stay with us.
News First. Main sponsor.
Darden's Hospital, dedicated to you. When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Darden's Heart Centre, dedicated to you.
International business media reported trading in wheat flour futures in the United States increased over 8% on Wednesday the 19th after Russia refused to renew the Black Sea grain deal and began missile and drone attacks on Ukraine's Black Sea ports.
By Thursday morning, the average global trading price of wheat had already shot up 2.33% to $744 per bushel.
According to UN data last year, world food prices climbed 20% caused by the Russian blockade of Ukrainian ports and reached $960 per bushel last October before the Black Sea grain deal brokered by Turkey implemented guarantees that wheat ships would be allowed free access. Wheat prices then dropped to $588.78 in May 2023. But the deal expired last Monday with Russia refusing to renew it. On Tuesday, the UN Secretary General warned of an impending catastrophe among developing nations that are dependent on the World Food Programme to feed hundreds of millions of people worldwide due to the Russian stance.
Ultimately, participation in these agreements is a choice, but struggling people everywhere and developing countries don't have a choice. Hundreds of millions of people face hunger and consumers are confronting a global cost of living crisis, and they will pay the price.
Against this backdrop, while Ukraine is responsible for 40% of the world's wheat exports, Russian missile attacks on Ukraine's Black Sea coast destroyed 60,000 tons of grain and damaged storage infrastructure. Due to this, considerable amount of export infrastructure was out of operation, also resulting in some northwestern and southeastern areas of the Black Sea being temporarily dangerous for shipping. Speaking to News First, CEO of Advocata Institute, Dhananath Fernando, elaborated on the impact that this would have on Sri Lanka.
There can be multiple implications. First, with the wheat price increasing, of course, it will have an impact on the food inflation and mainly the cost of living for common people. and also there will be an impact on the bakery industry. That's the first line of impact. At the second line, I think given the economic crisis that we are going through, there has also been reported that about 7 million people are now below the poverty line. And I think there's an increase in the malnutrition numbers. So that will also get affected, because whether we like it or not, regardless of the health concerns of the consumption of wheat flour, people are consuming it mainly because of the affordability factor. In Sri Lanka, there's also some restrictions, and there was some monopoly sort of a environment also on wheat flour. So anyway, it was not pretty much open for the market dimensions. But I think overall it is sadly going to affect negatively in terms of food inflation and food prices.
Restrictions on over 300 imports are to be lifted with effect from midnight on Thursday.
Sri Lanka State Finance Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya said that import restrictions on 328 items will be released on Thursday night. The Controller of Imports and Exports told News First that the list of items include fruits, vegetables, vehicle spare parts, television, washing machines, furniture and cosmetics.
An icon in the Sri Lankan tea industry, Meryl J. Fernando, the founder of Dilma Tea, passed away on Thursday morning.
Fernando will be buried at a private event on Saturday in Negombo, while the public will be able to pay their respects at the Respect Funeral Parlour on Friday and Saturday until noon.
Surrounded by his sons and grandchildren, iconic tea maker Meryl J. Fernando passed away in Colombo on Thursday. The trail-blazing entrepreneur was credited with taking single-origin Sri Lankan tea to over 100 countries worldwide, leaving behind a remarkable legacy in the global tea industry. Having laid the foundation of Dilma Tea in the early 1970s, Meryl J. Fernando revolutionized the tea industry by introducing the concept of single-origin Ceylon tea. More than just a business venture, Dilma Tea became a reflection of Meryl J. Fernando's deep-rooted passion for tea and his desire to share the distinct flavors of Sri Lanka with the world. Meryl J. Fernando was born in Negombo in 1930, and in 1954 he started to work as a tea assistant with Arthur Frederick Jones and his sons Dennis and Alan Jones at A.F. Jones & Co. 4 years later, he was appointed as managing director by the owning family of A.F. Jones & Co. In 1962, he resigned from A.F. Jones and started Ceylon Tea Services Company. Later that year, established Meryl J. Fernando Company and exported bulk tea to Russia, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Libya, Egypt and Saudi Arabia. In 1982, Meryl J. Fernando established Ceylon Tea Services Limited, floated as a public company on the request of the government to support a fledgling Colombo Stock Exchange. The launch of Sri Lanka's first value-added Ceylon tea brand, Dilma, with Mori Foods, took place in 1985. Over the years, Dilma went on to win many local and international awards under the leadership of Meryl J. Fernando. In 2016, Meryl J. Fernando was named Global Businessman at the Sri Lankan of the Year Awards and was felicitated as Honoured Citizen by the Mayor of Colombo. Dilma founder Meryl J. Fernando was bestowed with the Deshamanya title at the 2019 National Honours Ceremony presided by then-President Maithripala Sirisena. Meryl J. Fernando will be remembered for his humanity and his achievement in personally and passionately creating a global family behind the cause he pursued every day of his life for 73 years. Ceylon tea with taste, goodness and ethical purpose.
An exhibition titled The Young Engineering Expo 2023, organized by the Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology, was held on Wednesday.
The exhibition showcased the innovation and talent of first-year engineering undergraduates through 50 exhibits addressing real-world engineering challenges. Young Engineering Expo 2023 saw the participation of over thousands of students and parents from diverse schools hailing from different parts of the country.
Pakistan have joined India at the top of the ICC World Test Championship standings with a comprehensive 4-wicket victory over Sri Lanka in the first test in Galle on Thursday.
Chasing a target of 131, Imamul Haq remained unbeaten on 50, while Salman Ali Agha hit the winning 6 to remain not out on 6. On Wednesday, they lost 3 wickets in a tricky 131-run chase on day 4 after spinners Noman Ali and Abrar Ahmed helped them bowl Sri Lanka out for 279. The tourists reached 48 for 3 at stumps in Galle, needing another 83 to take the lead in the 2-match series.
Absolutely stunning innings on a very, very tough pitch. Sweep shot and taken. Agha Salman batted brilliantly in the first inning.
The Jaffna Premier League football tournament commenced on Thursday. Shakti TV is the media sponsor for this event.
60 football clubs in the Northern Province are taking part in the Jaffna Premier League football tournament. The event is organised by the Northern Province Department of Sports. Round 1 games of the Jaffna Premier League football tournament took place on Thursday and will continue on Friday as well. The quarter-finals and semi-finals will take place at the Durayappa grounds in Jaffna. The final will also be played at the same venue in Jaffna.
Mrs. India INC, the most glamorous beauty pageant for married women in India, hosted its 4th season right here in Sri Lanka.
The press briefing of the winners of Mrs. India INC Season 4 took place in Colombo today.
TV1 and Legends 966 are the proud media partners for the pageant, and we brought to you the latest throughout the journey to the crown.
The event reached its peak last night with the finale being held in Colombo. Chetana Joshi Tiwari was adjudged the winner of this year's edition. Chetana, a resident of Indore, has become an example for millions of women across the country. A successful businesswoman, wife and mother, she is an inspiration to many.
How does it feel?
It feels like all my dedication and hard work paid off, so I'm feeling top of the world right now.
You believe in law of attraction. How has that helped you through this journey?
I actually manifested this crown. I set my wallpaper and I edited a picture having this crown on my head, and you can see the result right now. So I'm a regular meditation practitioner, and I really believe in the power which is there within.
This year's host nation was Sri Lanka. How was the whole experience?
Sri Lanka is very good, very amazing. The hospitality here, especially in the cinnamon grands, and here people are so warm welcoming that even if I was facing little challenges, they were there. So I'm so happy that I've got this crown in Sri Lanka.
What is your message to the ladies out there, to the women, about how you can empower yourself and how you can make your dreams also a reality?
You don't need to be perfect to prove anybody. You can be just best in your own way. Believe in yourself, in your dreams, in your goals, and with hard work and determination, you can achieve anything in your life. So whatever you do, just don't do one thing, that is give up. Don't give up on your dreams. Keep working hard.
This year's Mrs. India INC pageant drew the attention of 75 exceptional competitors from across India as well as Indians all over the world, making it a true international celebration of elegance, beauty and cultural diversity. Disha Chetty, a cardiologist, was adjudged first runner-up, while Sohini Rohra, a psychologist, was adjudged second runner-up of Mrs. India INC. Mrs. India INC is an inspiring testimony of how women can juggle between professional and personal life and still manage to excel in both fields.
Be the first to know about the biggest stories as they break. Subscribe to News First English News Alerts. News First, your trusted English news channel.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. I'm Shalan Benedict for the News First team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara.
Good night.